Our journey from dark places to healing, discovery, and solitude. Hey, I'm Dasha, a 29-year-old single mother born and raised in Miami, Florida. I'm blessed to be the mother of my two sons, Osias and Adai. I own a juice company called Ginger Harvest, and I also do cleaning and Lyft on the side. Over the years, I have fought and battled through many challenges in my pursuit to provide my children and myself with a stable, structured, clean, and flourishing life. For many years, my boys and I lived in a one-room space at my mom's house while I worked to support my children and help her with her businesses. In 2017, my youngest son was just 1 year old when I made the decision to go back to school and earn my diploma. Balancing school, work, and caring for my children wasn't easy. My mom often made me feel selfish for focusing on my family or my future. Pushing myself to help her while neglecting my own health eventually led to a near-death experience with meningitis, a harsh reminder of the toll it took on me. Although I faced setbacks, I pushed through and earned my diploma despite the lack of support. Working long hours and being away from my children 90% of the time really broke my heart. Even though they stayed with their grandmother, they weren't thoughtfully cared for or properly monitored. This led to my children ending up in life-threatening situations because they were left unsupervised. In February 2021, Osias experienced a serious accident. His curiosity led him to throw a lighter into a pot of boiling water, which then exploded. This unfortunate event could have been avoided with closer supervision from their grandmother. It was one of the scariest days of our lives and created trauma for Osias that he is still recovering from. I'm grateful, however, that he healed well and suffered no life-debilitating injuries. Living in my mother's house was a constant struggle due to Adai's severe allergies. The pest infestation and lack of cleanliness made it difficult to manage his condition. I did everything I could, keeping his room clean and taking him out whenever possible, but my work schedule left gaps in his care. The neglect of hygiene in the environment often triggered severe reactions, leading to countless hospital trips. Each visit was a heartbreaking reminder of how much the living situation was affecting his health. Coming home late at night, often past midnight, I would discover that the boys hadn't been fed or bathed, despite my contributions to the household and more. To make sure they were okay, I started bringing them food, staying up extra hours to clean them up and put them to bed. Their health, education, and safety were compromised, but I was determined to get us out for the sake of their well-being. My boys also had to witness the verbal, emotional, and physical abuse I endured, along with their own neglect. Even though they were too young to fully understand, I did my best to keep them as happy as possible. Through prayer and perseverance, Yahweh delivered us from that place. Although we had nowhere to go, it was still better than staying there. Noticeably, I did see a change in their mental state and growth, and that is all that mattered to me at the time. Everything I've shared with you so far is just a fraction of what we've endured. Being homeless for a time gave us the opportunity to explore life in a new way. But of course, eventually we had to find a place to settle and start a new chapter in our lives. New beginnings. At some point during our journey, we moved to Georgia, closer to my sister who lives there with her family. We lived in a studio starting off, then bounced around a few places afterward. Nevertheless, it was refreshing and a wonderful change. Each place we landed, I tried to make the best of everything. The boys loved it the most. They went to their first summer camp, made some friends, and got to be a part of so many exciting things. Although breaking away and starting a new journey made a big difference in our lives, the trials didn't stop there. Our escape from our previous life was aided by someone who protected and provided for us during that time, but was highly controlling and emotionally abusive. Their issues gradually made living in solitude unbearable, and things eventually fell apart. Once again, I made the decision to prioritize my children's safety above everything else. I refused to let them witness me being abused in any way ever again. In May 2023, we returned back to Florida for what was supposed to be just a summer stay. My goal was to purchase a car since I didn't have one of my own, work a while, and then head back to Georgia. Unfortunately, our temporary stay ended up being at my mother's home. While some things were different from my boys, the treatment toward me remained the same, if not even worse. Our stay extended longer than anticipated, making it increasingly challenging to return to Georgia as planned. At a time when I needed extra work to pay off my car, I reached out to a relative for help, offering to work in exchange for support. They graciously hired me and added me to their payroll. Initially, I planned for this job to be temporary. However, as the weeks went by, they saw value in my work and asked me to stay. To make that possible, they even helped me secure a place to live so I can continue working with them and have a safe, clean environment for my children. Staying back at my mom's place for that short time was hell 2.0. I lost my tolerance and my sanity. I had to find a way out, even with the stay only being a few months. Our first apartment, a fresh new start. Around August and September 2023, I began apartment hunting. After 3 months of searching and facing countless rejections, I was finally approved for the perfect place. It was everything I needed and more than I asked for. This was the first time we ever had something that we could truly make our own. It was one of the happiest days of my life. I cried tears of joy and relief, knowing that our lives were about to change for the better. It was a different feeling for me and them. It gave me the space to heal and them the space to grow. It was great to be able to bond with them on another level, giving them their own space filled with love and positivity. Moving into our new place meant that I was finally able to enroll them in a decent school. This move gave me the opportunity to give my boys a true sense of stability. During our time there, things began to get rough and scarce. Living further away from my job meant the wear and tear on my car took its toll, and I ended up missing more days than I could afford. But I did what I had to do. I picked up cleaning gigs, babysat when I could, and even took out a title loan on my car just to make ends meet. For the first 6 months, I was finding my way and I was determined to make it work. Then July 2024 came, and with it, a sexual assault that resulted in an unwanted conception. The emotional, mental, and physical toll it took on me was debilitating. I was incredibly sick and fell into the deepest depression of my life, deeper than anything I'd experienced since being diagnosed at 17. This lasted for about 2 months. It was the biggest setback of my year. I was in the midst of a major depressive episode, so much that I could barely bring myself to clean my surroundings or take care of my personal hygiene. I was so unstable that I had to call a suicide hotline because I was terrified of being alone. What hurt me the most was knowing my children noticed my sadness, yet I had to keep telling them that I was okay. But I wasn't. It was just me and my boys, and I felt so alone. I felt like a bad mother for letting myself get so overwhelmed that it became hard to work and maintain our stability. I even lost customers in the process. All I could do was pray and push myself every moment to climb out of that darkness. I didn't have the funds to afford the termination, but with the help of victim services and law enforcement, I was able to get the procedure. I was so grateful and relieved that I didn't have to carry my abuser's child. After the abortion, I began to feel like myself again. Although I was functional once more, I had fallen far behind in generating cash flow. During that time, I applied for rental assistance, which helped me catch up, but the rest was on me. Getting back on track, I began to put more focus on my business and conveniently drove for Lyft while applying for jobs and creating opportunities for myself. Even though I had a plan, things were still bumpy. Between tending to my boys' needs and trying to recover my mental and physical health from the traumatic event, life was coming at me so fast that I was barely skimming the surface of survival. I believed that I could make it work. But the truth is, doing it alone with 2 children in such a short amount of time is incredibly difficult, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I do need help. Here's our current circumstances. So from trying to be there for my children to simply trying to maintain my sanity, I fell short financially on something that played a huge part in my ability to take my kids to school and to make money. My car was recently repossessed through the default payments on a title loan I took out earlier last year. On top of that, I was actively facing eviction for the second and final time during my lease. Unfortunately, due to my struggles, I was late quite often sending rent, so my landlord no longer wants to renew the lease with me. On January 16, 2025, I received an 8-day notice, and then the following day, I went outside to find that my car was gone. Although I can redeem it, I don't have all the money I need to get it back at the moment, let alone pay December 2024's rent. Your support means everything. Our lease was up on January 14th, so we have until February 13th to move. But I only have to January 30th to redeem my car. And without my car, it feels so impossible to accomplish everything needed to keep us from facing homelessness again or returning to my mother's home. I deeply want to prevent having to remove my sons from school and uprooting their new life. I'm asking for your aid to help keep Osiris and Adai housed, safe, healthy, and thriving. Your help will greatly aid in my journey to getting back on my feet. Thank you so much for taking out the time to listen and watch. Much gratitude for your support.